Welcome to the Podcast Editor Mastermind Show. I am Steve. I just do this podcast to help myself, Stuart, and I'm here with a great panel for this topic today. We're going to be talking about, we're going to reflect on the past in 2025, see what has been the big changes in the podcasting space. We're also going to look at and predict what we think is going to happen in 2026. I'm joined with my co-host, Mr. Mark Niel.
Hey everyone, I'm here to keep Steve on track, and if anyone is playing the drinking game at home, I am not going to call out the years, either the past or previous, so you're on your own.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, apparently it was the last year we did this.
I'm going to share my screen. Drink. Okay. With us, we have Pam Cameron. She began as a freelance editor and now runs end-to-end post-production. I guess that includes podcasting and the post-production side. A full-time producer of Acquiring Minds. Do you do the full production start to finish, or do you just do the post-production, Pam?
I start by mailing out a headset to the guests. I don't live produce because the host is actually so good at wrangling the guests that I don't have to help with that at all. And then afterward, I do line editing. I send it to the editor, marketing, the newsletter. I make sure it gets uploaded to Transistor and YouTube and all the things.
So you do all the things, except host it and be there for the
Correct.
You train them well enough that you don't have to be there during the recording.
Oh, exactly. Yes. I'll take credit for that.
All right. Also with us today, it's a pleasure to have Jay Yao with us. Jay is an audio professional for over 16 years in both music and podcast production. He's collaborated with a ton of people: Benedict Cumberbatch, Mike Myers, Mary Louise Parker, and most notably, at least the one I remember, is James Altucher's show. You've been on that or producing that show for a long time, Jay.
I only started producing the show in 2019, actually 2020, but I've been with James since 2016. So I was started as a assistant engineer for like 2 days, and then they upgraded me to engineer, and then I became the head engineer for the show because it used to be in person, and we didn't have to deal with video back then. It's 2017. So we didn't have to deal with video back then. So I'm the one that go around studio like, hey, do you guys have slot open so I book the studio for James, and then have the guests come over to the studio and sit down and set up. So recording, editing, and mixing, and then just send it to the post-productions. But yeah, I've been with James since 2016.
That's about as long as I've been doing this full time in post-production side. It's incredible, isn't it? It's like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, and it's also so different. Like, it's a weird jump between 2019 and 2020. There's like a huge jump right there. All of a sudden, everyone's like, oh, we got to do video. I'm like, okay.
And also with us back once again is Chad Parizman, podcast production and strategist from Editor Communications. What's new with you?
Oh, what is new? Kicking off a new show for a client that was a guest on another show that I produce, which is like always kind of the best way to earn a client, I think. Like, oh, that's what it takes. I think we can do that. And they're like, 2 weeks later, that you get that email of like, hey, so if we wanted to launch in Q1 of next year, what would we have to do? And then like we've been off to the races since then. So that's been probably on the editing side the most exciting thing in my world these days.
Excellent. Well, today we want to talk about the hot takes we got from 2025 in the podcast space, and then we want to jump in later on our predictions and just predicting what's going to happen in 2026, because I think we all can agree here. Do you all agree 2025 was a big year, lots of change in this space?
Yeah.
Does anybody have something that they want to lead with in this discussion about big changes in 2025?
Well, I can tell you something that was big for me. I don't know if anyone even realizes this tool is out here, but it solved a huge problem for me. So the podcast I produce is almost 2 hours long, and it debuts twice a week, every week, rain or shine. Something we do as a service to our YouTube audience is put YouTube chapters because these are long episodes. And up until now, it's just been manual, typing those out, and this is not revenue generating activity. This is something I don't love spending time on. And I found blogfox.ai. All you have to do is take the URL of a public YouTube video. You paste it in, you click go, and within a minute, it gives you accurate, beautiful timestamps. My team saves an hour a week now.
Have you tried other tools that do that? Because there are a lot of tools. I know that Daniel J. Lewis just came out with a chapters feature that'll help determine where the chapters are or name them, Plus, you could use an outline, throw it in there. What makes BlogFox AI, I think is what you said. What makes that so special?
I don't have to do anything. I just take once the episode is edited and it's on YouTube, I take the URL, I paste it. It gives me the chapters. By the time I've pasted the URL, I may not even remember what this episode was about because we are cycling through these things so quickly.
Yeah.
And so this makes my life so much easier.
We've all seen AI tools coming out just out of the woodwork this last year. Not even just this last year, but this. I mean, well, Mark, you know this. When did OpenAI become public where anybody could use it? Was it November of 23 or 22?
I remember November 23 when it started having mass adoption, and a lot of people within our circle started signing up for it and joining in December of 2023 as well. In fact, back then it was like a wait list type thing. They didn't have the premium ChatGPT function. There were some startups that was using the ChatGPT AI API engines underneath. OpenAI came out with OpenAI so anyone can use it. Yeah, it really took off around that time. So yeah, 2023. So now here we are. Gosh, I don't want to say any more years because people will be like, oh, Mark said that 5 times. Yeah, so the last couple of years, it's been taking off, as well as other AI-driven tools. And here we are. Couple years later, having all this, everyone having all this for a couple of years and really kind of changing the landscape of how we work and what clients expect and what the market is used to consuming.
Yeah. I went into it knowing that I'd be using some AI tools. We just heard from Pam. Chad, AI has changed how we do audio engineering, has it not?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it helped tremendously because I do a tons of post-production stuff. And then somehow I attract a lot of people that forgot to click record button during during the set. And then they're like, hey, we only record on one mic because, we forgot to because we forgot to on the other mic for recording. So we only have this. Can you help us? So having AI is great because I usually just put it into 3 different AI services like, Podcast Enhance, Descript Studio Sound. And I have this tool called, it's a plugin called, I believe it's called DX Clarity Pro or something like that. I forgot what it's called. I use it all the time, even though. And then I would just mix and match and try to make everything sounds as natural as possible. And then, and back in 2016, those are not even possible. Like if you forgot to record anything, even with just one mic, you're kind of screwed. So yeah, AI definitely helped post-productions tremendously. Also speed up the time too. Yeah.
Jay, do you feel, and Chad, you can chime in here too. Do you feel a little less valuable with all these AI tools out there, or are you using them to the max where it helps you become better?
Yeah, I don't feel like, I'm not threatened by it. Let's put it that way. And it definitely helped me make my workflow better and faster. Like AI can help me for sure, but I still in charge of the creative side of it, right? So let's say the AI like, hey, this is how to fix it. And then I'm like, no, that sounded a little bit too bassy. Like it just sounds like you come up straight from the radio. So I have to EQ after the AI has fixed whatever the problem is. So you still need the human touch and human experience to actually fix anything that quote unquote fixed by AI. So you still need the experience, but it make you work faster. So rather than doing like maybe 1 episode a day or 2 episodes a day, you can do like 3 or 4 episodes a day. You can fix up to 6 to 7 hours of audio issues or audio stems in a day rather than just 1 or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jay. I come at it from 2 sides. One is it's not just even making the audio a little bit better than what the AI can offer, but I am typically, for my clients, I'm doing everything else from helping them find guests and writing discussion guides all the way through offering them titles, suggestions, chaptering, show notes, links, research for them, kind of all kinds of other things. So anything I can do that actually frees up my time on just the editing piece allows me to be doing, another, one more social media marketing clip, one, an extra 20 minutes on researching the next guest. Like that's kind of how I view it. And then I'll just, the one tool that I can't live without now is Auphonic. I've gone from the isotopes and the plugins, and I've hundreds of dollars of like locally installed plugins and things like that I bought over the years. And I kind of like, I don't know why everyone just doesn't use Auphonic. Like Auphonic to me is just kind of magic. Like I understand why we don't, but like just to be a little bit provocative, the cost for it is so minimal compared to what I think it does. And especially once they move to the multi-track solution where you can go in there and tweak and then it just does the whole thing. I mean, it's everything from, Jay, your point of like, we forgot to turn the mic on, to like, I've done live recordings where that has bad mic bleed that Auphonic just gets rid of 98% of it, to, I mean, you name it. And so that's the one tool for me that I can't live without right now. I mean, it's just all AI magic, along with, I'm sure we'll talk about some other stuff, but like that alone has saved me, hours of time that I know, like, and I would never have been able to get it nearly as good, even if I put in the hours.
Does anybody here feel like they're losing gigs because AI is able to be, I mean, it's so consumer facing now. There's so many consumer tools. The podcaster can do stuff themselves. Do you feel like you're losing jobs? Is it impacting your income in some way?
So I have this full-time gig, but I still kept on one client from back when I was freelance. And he reached out to me in January and said, "Hey, money's really tight. I'm so sorry to ask you this. Could you teach me how to edit my podcast myself?" I was thrilled, honestly. I'd worked with him for 3 years. I'm a big fan of his work. I didn't need the money anymore because I was, full-time with this new gig. And I was like, absolutely, let me make you a little video. I did a screen capture in Riverside. I was blown away by what you can do in Riverside. So technically, yeah, I guess I lost the gig, but it sounded like the gig was going to go away anyway. And I've got another gig. So I guess I guess I did, but I don't feel bad about it.
I thought that was a great story.
Yeah.
Because
Thank you.
for me, like, I'm happy that AIs exist for that reasons. Like, hey, can you, because like there's a lot of chores I felt like we shouldn't be doing, or at least I didn't want to do. Let's say they're like, hey, can you edit this episode for me for $50? I'm like, it's only $50. It's, that's not worth my time. I'd rather you do it, and then after they just send it over for me to master or whatever, I do something that's either easier or not take as much of my time, so I can move on and do something else that I, maybe need my attentions more and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I come at it from a different angle because, I think I came to podcast editing from a different area than maybe a lot of people that I've met, which is like, I would come from the comms and marketing world. And I came to podcast editing and production kind of late in life. I didn't go to like school for it. I didn't go for like media production or work in TV or radio or anything like that. So what I provide is like so much more than just the editing, that again, like, I'm not really losing clients to someone that thinks that they can use Descript on their own or Riverside or anything like that, because I'm typically helping them like soup to nuts with everything from concept and launch all the way through marketing and paid promotion and things like that. So I think if anything, AI is probably forcing podcast editors to have to learn and to be more. And it's the same thing that I saw with like social media managers 5-8 years ago coming from that world, which is like, for a while you could just be like, I know Twitter and Instagram, and that was great. And now to be a social media like manager or marketer, like you have to know paid media, you have to know how it impacts on SEO, you have to know probably some type of video editing, you have to write, like, there's a million things involved. And so I think if anything, like, will it weed some people out? Are people losing jobs? Probably. Like, I don't want to discount that, but I think it's also making podcast editors, podcast producers like have to upskill and become more than just, like I'm taking 45 minutes in audio and making a great 25 minutes. Like that's a piece of it, but I think you need to be able to do more.
Some other big things that happened in 2025 that we've got to reflect back on. I'll just go through the list that I have. We lost a lot in 2025. We lost Niel Guillarte. He was a big component of the Messengers documentary, which is from 2018 or something, I think. Very instrumental in Podfest. We lost him, I think it was February of this year. Todd Cochrane, founder of Blueberry. I mean, that's a huge hit to the space. And then people who have lost positions in very influential places. Elsie Escobar. I thought she left Libsyn. She got let go from Libsyn. I think that's huge. It's a huge thing. Stephen Robles, Riverside. I thought he was the face and voice of Riverside for years. I mean, he's just so fantastic. A couple people from Descript were let go. Christiana Cromer and Ashley Hammer Pritchard both let go. That tells me that Descript is moving towards something that isn't that community, touching base with the podcasters type of feel. But then again, they developed the AI tool that I think we all first recognized as this is magic over here. You're editing with text and all these really cool things. Does anybody have any input on that, all the changes we've had in the space?
The Descript situation is the one I know the most about. I know a bunch of people over there. I'm pretty involved still in their communities. I think like anywhere else, they have realized, right, that starting in the podcaster and I'll say / influencer, creator world is a great place to start, but eventually you have to fight. The fight for dollars is harder and there's less return. I believe Descript is much more moving into the enterprise kind of workflow world and the same way, right? We saw this with Canva, whatever that was 5 to 8 years ago, right? Where it's like, hey, you can do this. And now it's just like, no, you want to buy 35 Canva licenses for your marketing team so that you don't need, they don't need to free up time for your other marketing or image resources. I think that's what we're about to see with Descript. I think Descript is probably making much more headway into things like learning teams or internal comms, things like that, where again they can go into a company and they can sell 20, 30, 50 licenses at a time. I don't think they'll get away from like what we're using them for, but I just think that there is a lot more money to be made in those spaces where one client at a time, versus kind of the DDC approach of like, and I just think there's a lot of people in the community that are having a hard time dealing with that. And I think we're going to see that with a lot of these tools that we've all become reliant on. I mean, we've seen that everything from like Adobe, right? I mean, I edit an Audition, and Audition seems to be like the thing Adobe still forgets that they have as part of their subscription. They've built like a million things into Premiere. Audition still works, but like there's been no major upgrades there. So I think that we're going to have to kind of come to terms with the fact that a lot of these tools that we've relied on will eventually move beyond us, unless, I mean, Steve, I don't know what your thought is on like, I know that there's lots of opinions on like the latest rollout of Audacity, but like that obviously, right, there's being open sourced, I think is a very different type of situation. But I think a lot of these other tools will realize ultimately, the folks that are listening to this and the folks that we're chatting with today are a really small piece of the pie of what these companies could be.
Yeah, I just want to tag on that too. I think just the way that Descript also changed the pricing to like the creator. They changed, from the transcription to like per minute of media upload. Even if you upload like one picture is considered 1 second. I'm like, that's crazy. It's supposed to be media. And then, but yeah, everything is moving to enterprise. I think I sort of started to see Descript move away from community when they let go, or at least Ariel left Descript. I'm like, okay, they're gonna stop listening to community. I really have high hope for Adobe. They have the Adobe podcast, but from what I heard from some of the people in Adobe, because I thought they were the one that's supposed to, go against or compete against with Descript and even Riverside. From what I heard is that Adobe Podcast just gonna stick with just the AI stuff. No like multi-track editing, no multi-track this and that. Maybe they were just gonna implement into Premiere, but yeah, I'm still using Descript at this point. So hopefully they don't charge too much in the future.
And we brought up Riverside. We're using Riverside to record right now. It used to be a recording tool. It was a competition for Zencaster, one of the early day recording devices that was much better than Skype and Pamela. And they introduced AI editing tools. AI's talking, we're bringing the conversation again here.
Whether you want it or not.
Change in the space.
Yeah. Every SaaS platform is introducing some element of AI. Maybe to make things better, maybe to, shiny object syndrome. And they started doing that about a year or so back. And now I'm sure everyone here on this panel has noticed all the prices of your services are going up. Whether you use all these new features or not, AI isn't free. It may look free in the beginning, but eventually they're like, oh, wow, we have to pay for this. So a lot of the platforms where I'm going to sound like an old curmudgeon, like, oh, it's fine the way it is, and I don't need all this AI hoop-de-doo. But they're putting it in the AI hoop-de-doo, and good luck in transcribing that AI assistant. They're introducing that whether we want it or not, and maybe we play with it like, wow, this is great, this is a game changer, which is probably a good thing for us in our business, or it just gets in the way. It's tough to relearn the same platform that you're using every 3 months because they move buttons around and add new things, and maybe they change the name of a function that's doing the same thing. It's tough, and now as we turn over the calendar from one year to the next, a lot of prices have gone up. There's been a lot of turnover, and a lot of these prices are going up as well, aren't they, Steve?
Yep. Blueberry did their first increase in years. Buzzsprout also increased their prices this year, and then Libsyn has announced that they're going to be raising theirs in the next year, which has been the first big change they've had in almost a decade.
And we know Descript increased their price
and
a few months back.
Yeah, that was a big
and a lot of these, yeah.
I think everybody's felt the impact this past year or two with all the inflation increases, things like that. It's going to be more important in 2026 than it has in the past, just because there are so many things competing for our dollars, whether it's our personal spending, our business spending. And unfortunately, that's going to result in increasing prices on our clients. We got to charge them more for our services. Yeah. But AI is supposed to be saving us time. It's just like computers are supposed to do away with printing on paper, right? Well, that didn't stop it. Is AI going to help us to become more efficient and be able to keep our rates low because we get things done faster? What do y'all think?
No.
Well, yeah. It's like I don't think we should lower your rate because just AI, AI can help you do things faster. It's just like you go to school for 10 years to make a logo in 10 minutes rather than, make a logo in 10 years, So you shouldn't lower your price. You shouldn't lower your self-worth. And also, like you said, like AI costs money. So, maybe keeping the same rate, rather like the amount of time that, that save you and save the money that actually go to paying the AI services.
Mark, you were going to hop in there. Well, you just said no. I guess that's your answer. You don't have to expand on that, do you?
Oh, I can expand on it. No, it's an old axiom of project management. Parkinson's law basically says that the work will expand to fill up the resources that are allocated to it. So as we have more capability with AI, we're gonna get more work. And that could be more work with our same clients. Like clients now expect more because, like, well, you're doing AI and other people are doing all this stuff with AI. Hey, can I get the show notes? Clients that I had, a decade or so back, show notes was a premium add-on. Now show notes is essentially an afterthought because it's an AI byproduct of all the other processes. So I think that, and this is a distraction, and we'll probably cover that later as far as like the value proposition of podcast production. But I think people will expect more as AI expands and can do more, not because they want more, but because they know that more can be done with the same resources. So Parkinson's law of project management is now hitting us in the podcast editing space.
Has anyone else had a situation where someone, like you had a client ask you to do something and they were like, I'm sure you can just run it through AI, and AI is actually not there yet?
Oh boy.
You mean the client that doesn't know what AI is?
That thinks it's magic?
Yeah,
Well,
the
it is
thing is
magic.
the thing is like a small little elf that lives inside your
Right.
computer that help you do your things. You know?
No, I think you mean the anonymous intern. If you have an anonymous intern, you can put that AI on it. But yeah, we don't have the tools, the technology capability yet. Come see me on Monday, because maybe things will change then, right?
Yeah.
Probably video is the one space that I've seen that where, again, right, they see big name podcasters releasing, impeccably looking video with well-timed audio tracks and sound effects, right? I mean, like that, I think that's where I've seen it, where again, right, we've gotten all the like, the Steve Bartlett's, the Joe Rogan, right? It's like, how do I get it to look like that? And it's like, well, you're recording on your laptop camera from home and you don't even want to put up like an extra light, but like you want it to look like a studio, yeah, right. So there's like those, I think, are the tough to have conversations, and I think that there still isn't, as much as there's like a sweeten the audio with a lot of these tools. We haven't really seen that with video. The video side of AI has mostly been around all this generative AI stuff. That maybe 6 months from now, we can come back and have a conversation of that, of like, can we start incorporating those types of things? But this is where I wouldn't mind paying more for Descript if they had, the same way that they can now add a blur and add a green screen, which actually is great and has come in handy, because I've had clients be like, oh, I'm always on Zoom, I totally forgot my bed was unmade. Can you go in and like blur that? And the fact that it's like one click now in a lot of these tools, right, like is a lifesaver. There's not the opposite of like, look, can you sharpen this for me? Can you make it look really great? Like, can you make it look like studio lighting, right? Like we can mimic studio sound, but we can't mimic studio lights yet. Again, a year from now, let's have that conversation and see where we are.
Because it can do a lot. Yeah, that's a good thing. I'm like, yeah, can't do that today. See me on Monday or next month. Who knows? The tools are evolving quickly, but right now, not yet.
Can I throw out one more thing for 2025? Because I threw this out the other day to someone, and they were like, I was a little overzealous about it, and they were taken back. But someone was like, can we have people stop wearing headphones? It just doesn't look good. Was like, because again, they're used to seeing a lot of these videos of folks in studio that don't have, right, Good Hang, Rogan, right? A lot of these, they're in $10,000 studios, right? Understandably, they don't need to wear headphones. And I threw back at them what I thought was a big piece of the year was Taylor Swift wore headphones on the Kelsey Brothers show, right? And it's like, because they are not, while the two of them were in the studio together, because Jason is remote, they still all wore headphones. And I'm just like, that to me is that moment of like, if Taylor Swift is going to wear headphones for 2 hours, you can too. I'm just tired of I don't like the way it looks, or, I mean, a couple of you guys are like wearing the in-ears. I love in-ears, but again, people are always asking about that. I'm like, unless you're willing to drop like $400 for custom in-ears, you're going to get much more like playing around, or unless you're really comfortable with them. But again, they're still headphones. So to me, that was just like, right, there's a lot of pop culture reasons why Taylor Swift being on a podcast was big for the industry, but from like the production standpoint, that to me was just like, frame it, like grab that screenshot anytime someone asks like, why do I need to wear headphones? Like, this is the thing that I send them now.
That's right. I remember.
Yeah.
I forgot that Taylor Swift was on a podcast. That was the big news, and I think that's why Mark Maron stopped his show.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Taylor's been on a show. I'm done now.
I mean, he got Barack Obama and he put it up on the map. I remember Podcast Movement 2015, their second podcast movement, and he was the keynote speaker. Like, oh my gosh, this is the podcaster that interviewed a president. This is getting big. So yeah, here we are.
We were talking about the reflections on 2025, the year that was a lot of big change. Although I feel like we're living in the future, but what is coming up with 2026? There's going to be even more change. I don't see anything keeping its position as it is. Anybody want to start off with a topic that they think is going to be a big deal in 2026?
Yeah, I can go. I think a couple months back they just announced the Netflix and Spotify podcast deal. So I think that's gonna be a huge deal for the podcast industry, that people really just gonna dive into video now, because they're probably just like, I'm gonna start doing video, like crazy video productions, and maybe sometimes ignore the audio part of it, which I kind of hate because I'm an audio person. But they probably would dive into the video so much more in the hope that they would get a partnership with either Spotify, or maybe, in the future, Netflix just got a bid on Warner Brothers. Maybe, who knows, they have another Spotify a podcast on that side of the things too. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring the Warner Brothers piece of it, because for a while now, HBO, for a lot of their big tentpole shows, have been running these like behind the scenes, but also doing official podcasts. So, like right now I'm in the middle of watching the It Welcome to Derry, and Mark Bernardin, who has been on a couple of podcasts, is hosting that, like the official podcast. So they did one. James Gunn was the host of the one for Peacemaker, like earlier this year. So I think there's a lot of synergy that, yes, we're making a big deal about this, like Netflix, Spotify, because it's the two big names. But I think, we've been seeing a lot of these media companies have actually been getting into the podcast space. Maybe we're not seeing the headlines around it. But I think anything that's going to elevate not only podcasting, but then video podcasting, and kind of bring it into new areas, whether that is downloaded to my tablet or the back of an airplane seat, can only help grow the industry.
Yeah. Pam, did you have a comment on that? I think you were about to hop in and we stopped you.
No, I exclusively just want to make my workflow faster. I have no idea what Netflix is doing. Doesn't affect me.
I got a great hibachi restaurant up the street. I don't know what they're doing. I'm sure they're doing great hibachi. If I want that, I'll go to that hibachi restaurant. If I want Chipotle, I'll do, mobile app order at Chipotle. I produce audio forward podcasts that may or may not have a video component. So for me, myself, I'm not too worried about all the share of entertainment. I'm focusing on ear share, and that's where I try to specialize.
Sorry, can I give one predictions? This is a pretty bold prediction. I think if Amazon done it right, Amazon would be the mega giant podcast platform in the industry, right? So if you think about it, they have what? They have Art19, right? And then Amazon also own AWS, which is a backend server. Amazon also own Prime. So if they did it right, you could upload your audio and video to Art19. And then, I don't know if you know this, you could self-upload your video to Amazon Prime, and then it will appear as if your show was professionally produced by Amazon Prime Original. So if they did it right, they can literally upload the video from Art19 to Amazon Prime to appear alongside with other show. So it's like you are the big thing. And then they have the AWS backend server. You can build your website. And remember back in 2015, almost every podcast has their own app. So they can do the same thing too with the AWS. So my prediction is, if Amazon did it right, and if they don't have a lot of internal fighting, that could be the next big Spotify thing, like even bigger than Spotify, because they already have server for videos anyway. Spotify is building from ground up for their video server. So
But how does that benefit Amazon? Selling AWS services? And what's that going to cost a podcaster? Because the big problem with video podcasts is it's expensive. That's why everybody throws their stuff on YouTube. It's free. And, YouTube makes money off of our clients' content. So how does Amazon beat that?
It's just like Spotify, right? How does Spotify make money off spam? So they can drop ads in the video. So same with Amazon Prime. So maybe they make money off like how many people like hey, if you have Amazon Prime, then maybe you can watch this whole podcast without ads, just like any other show, or be like, hey, if you want to pay Amazon Prime, and then they take a chunk of money off the revenue. And then how the creator can make money is if you have Amazon Prime, like depends on how much your watch time is, then you get paid that way. At least that's how I think that's how it works. Because like Udemy, like the self-teaching course or whatever, that's how the creator make money off watch time if someone subscribe the premium version of it.
Interesting. Any other predictions for 2026?
How about just a hope? Just a from my mouth to God's ears hope. How close are we to being able to log into my podcast platform and know where the traffic is coming from? Is this an impossible dream?
Well, that
Can it
means that the
happen?
media hosts have to get all the data from all the different apps, right?
Yeah.
I don't care how they get it done. I just want to get it done. You know, we're going to have Taylor Swift's wedding. I think we can also know where our podcast traffic is coming from. That's all I want. Santa,
Also, Pam,
God, that's all I want.
Are you saying not so much like the sources, but what the person was listening or doing before they started consuming the podcast? Is that what you're saying, or just like what stream they're consuming it from? Sorry, you mentioned Taylor Swift. I'm thinking like they go from Taylor Swift to your show. I'm like, wow, that'd be interesting if they've got that type of pixel ear tracking.
What I want is like when there's just an inexplicable spike in traffic, and you haven't done any marketing that day, it would be so helpful to know who was sharing this and on what platform, because maybe I should be there, and you can't know that right now.
Someone should build an app for it. Like, if you have a spike, give me an alert, big alert, and then see all the, where it's come from.
There's tracking stuff in there. But again, those prices are climbing up more and more and more. And then it becomes almost a cost of curiosity issue. How much are you willing to pay for that curiosity of when those things happen? Or otherwise, like, hey, can I just kind of do a regression of like, hey, I promoted and this episode went well. I didn't promote, this other one went well. But yeah.
Well, I'm keeping the dream alive.
So maybe building on that would be nice to know, but like, would I be willing to pay for it? Because is there something that I could do with that data then, right? And so the prediction that I'll make is I actually think we're going to start to have much bigger, broader, honest conversations about how podcasts make money. I'm working with someone now actually on running ads across podcasts and some pretty big name podcasts. And what I would say is like your top 1%ers are definitely commanding serious dollars to appear as, host-read ads, right? What we think about typically is making money. But then when you go from like the top 10, like the top 1% down into the middle, what I'm surprised, and I have not seen a lot of people make noise about this or really talk about this a lot, is I'm now seeing like media plans where 70% of the media plan is actually social media of the podcast hosts and has actually nothing to do with the podcast itself. So it might be still a 6-figure buy, but the lion's share is actually Instagram and TikTok posts and not running ads. And I think that's just something people like don't think about, aren't talking about, really drives home the idea that like to be a successful podcaster, you need to be multi-platform. It is very difficult to be a podcaster that just only makes money on podcasts. And I feel like we've talked about it in like merch or maybe live events, right? Like from comedians back in the day. But I think this kind of new podcaster where it's an influencer, someone that has a voice somewhere else, and now they're coming into podcasting is making money in a very different way than I think we've been largely having conversations about. And I think that, I don't want to say a breaking point, but I do think that we're going to have, like, there'll be some type of, scandalized headline about some podcaster that gets known as a podcaster, but actually like their podcast doesn't make money. It's all being funded by kind of all the other things that person does. And it's really just that they're a successful influencer.
Mark, what do you got for predictions, or do you want to add on to Chad?
Well, no. In fact, I'm going to take the, Pam's angle and go for hope. I hope that the podcast producers and the people running the production firms and things, that they stop defending against AI and start embracing and deploying and being transparent that yes, they're using AI. They're now hybrid human AI editors. And I think that will be the edge, saying like, yes, we use the AI, but it's AI enhanced, I guess, production frameworks. So they become profitable packages for these podcast editors. And they're more of story stewards rather than just easy editors. They embrace AI. They don't need to tell their clients, like, I'm using this AI package or that AI package. Does anyone care what plugin you use in your DAW? They didn't 5 years ago, and I don't think they're going to care what kind of AI packages or what you're using for the production of it. But I think they're going to feel better to know that you as the production partner are going to be using AI to make their show better, to make your production better and a little bit more seamless. And I think it's all going to end, at least not end, but it's really just about what I was saying before. The editors are more the story steward of the show, vice just an easy editor. And that's my hope, is that people stop defending against AI and they embrace, like, yeah, sure, we use AI, but this is what we do. If it's like, oh, we use this AI platform, this, that, and the other, like, sure, we use AI as part of our production workflow, but this is everything you get. And if you want to do all the social stuff and the video platforms to Amazon, AWS, or whoever Netflix ends up buying in the future or something, here's the collateral. But it starts here with the content, and we're here to help you curate it.
Well, these have all been excellent predictions. Does anybody else have anything else to add before I give mine?
Do it, Steve.
All right. This isn't a prediction. This is just something that we already know is coming. And I think it's important for podcast post-production specialists, editors, and people who work along with their teams, their clients' teams really well. YouTube is saying that they're going to have video mid-rolls available to creators. Once that's in place, be ready. We need to take advantage of that with our clients. Spotify has been promising this for years, and they haven't delivered yet. So YouTube beat them with a punch. And I know that was going to be a huge influence on my clients. They were going video first hard because they were being hosted through Megaphone, which is owned by Spotify, and that would give them a direct link to Spotify, and they'd be able to make money on mid-rolls, video mid-rolls. That hasn't happened yet. If YouTube makes that happen, guess what? A lot of people are going to go for that. And it's going to take away from the audio audience, the audio experience. We already know this is going to happen. So that's something that we know should be happening here in 2026 because YouTube has said it's going to happen. And then I have a prediction, actually 2 predictions. Riverside's going to increase their rates in 2026. They have to. If they're doing all this, not only do they have the editing tools built in now while you record as well, they're now hosting podcasts. They're going to have to increase their prices or restructure them in a way where they're making more money per client. We already seen that with the script. It's going to have to happen with Riverside. And the other prediction is that the prices for Podcast Editor Academy will not go up in 2026. So everybody, please pay attention to the Podcast Editor Academy newsletter. We're going to be giving more information when we reopen the doors in February 2026 on the Podcast Editor Academy. We're going to be adding some things there and making some
Cool stuff.
Really cool advancements at the Podcast Editor Academy. So I thank all of our panelists. Jay Yao, thank you for being here. Pam Cameron, thanks for joining us for this hour. We really appreciated your participation. And Chad Parizman, always a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thanks, guys.